What up, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. On this show, we talk about crowdfunding and I get into the ins and outs of how to actually raise money successfully when it comes to a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo campaign. We also cover other topics as well, like equity crowdfunding. And for me, this has been a passion of mine since 2012. And obviously, I started the podcast in 2015. And we try to bring on real-world entrepreneurs, guests, people who are succeeding when it comes to their crowdfunding campaign raise, people who are willing to also share what goes into that, kind of the engine, if you will, behind a successful crowdfunding campaign. And one of the coolest things, and I don't actually admit this a lot publicly, but one of the coolest things, man, is when I have someone who's been a listener of the show and they apply the tactics, the techniques, the strategy which we teach on the podcast, and then they go out there and they be successful and they come back on the show as a guest. It is so freaking cool to experience something like that. And I think it's also like almost like this karmic cycle where y'all, members of the Crowdfunding Demystified community, you're taking massive action, which I love about you. You're willing to hustle. You're willing to put in the nitty gritty, the grit that goes behind a campaign, and you're then experiencing those results and coming back on the podcast to share with other people exactly what went into that successful raise. And that's exactly what happened in today's podcast episode. We actually interviewed an individual who raised over $300,000 when it comes to their Kickstarter campaign, and they're also one of the listeners and a viewer of my YouTube channel. So you're going to hear right from them, straight from the source, in terms of what worked well with their podcast, with their Kickstarter campaign, what went into it, some of the marketing techniques which they used, and also a very unique technique that not many other people have used when it comes to Kickstarter. They actually had a profound effect in terms of driving traffic, funding, and backers to their campaign. You're going to discover what that was on today's podcast episode. In addition, one of the things I try to do in this industry is to put out free education information to help people on the journey, to help you whether at the very early stages of that journey or you're even further along, because one little trick, one little insight, one little technique that you employ can have a huge, profound, powerful effect when you go live with a crowdfunding campaign. So I try to share that. And one of the ways I do that is I put together a free course for you, walking you through how to do a Kickstarter campaign, but not only the basics, also some of the magic behind the scenes, some of the actual things that you can do to have not only a powerful launch, but continue to raise funding after you go live. One of the cool things about what I put into this course as well is not only talking about some of the tools, the techniques, getting into some of the tips, advice, all that kind of stuff, but I also share to you what works today, what's still working when it comes to a successful Kickstarter campaign. So if you want to learn more about that course, go and check out this link at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter will take you there. In addition, for those of you that are really ready to sink your teeth into the solution, like you're like, man, I've been listening to some shows or I've been Googling around, or you know what, I even just want to go straight to the source. Like I really just want the guide, the blueprint. I really want to know what goes into a successful raise. And not only that, but I just want to be able to follow this paint by numbers formula in order to hit it big. If that sounds like you, I put in tremendous amounts of effort into discovering, unearthing, and bringing this formula to you. And I call it the Kickstarter launch formula. I put all of this valuable information into one slender volume, the Kickstarter launch formula, which is available on Amazon as an ebook and a paperback version, and also it's available on Audible. And Audible is doing an incredible promotion where they're going to give you a free copy of the Kickstarter launch formula. All you got to do is sign up for a free 30-day trial of Audible. So if you like the way that I bring my passion, my enthusiasm to these podcast episodes, and you want a slice of that as well as many great techniques that work to get funding, go and check out the Kickstarter launch formula. All you got to do is go to the link I'm about to mention at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. Again, that link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. You can grab a free copy of the Kickstarter launch formula. Hope that you enjoy those resources. And without further ado, let's dive into this episode and discover how this individual was able to raise over $300,000 with their crowdfunding campaign and attract more than 800 backers for a new product that's building a brand, getting the name out there, and it's going to grow for years and years to come. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we are speaking with a campaign creator who has attracted over 300K when it comes to their most recent campaign, over 800 backers, and they have launched 2 other Kickstarter campaigns. And in addition, they are a listener success story, having actually watched our YouTube channel and have come back on the show to share some great advice and tips with you all. Welcome to the show, Tayeb. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Tayeb, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Salvador. Yes, you're pronouncing it correct. Yes.
Great. And for those that are not familiar, maybe you could just provide a little bit of a backstory there and kind of what got you interested when it comes to crowdfunding.
Yes. So basically, I own a small watch company called Radcliffe Watches. So what we do is mainly crowdfunding and on a crowdfunding, we do mechanical watches, and most of our business comes from Kickstarter. This is the short version. I can give more details if needed later on.
And what got you passionate about watches? Why was that something that you've been fascinated with now for a bit?
You won't believe it, but actually, by training, I'm an architect and civil engineer. Mm-hmm. And the passion for watches started a long time ago when I was a kid, and I even remember my first watch, a black quartz watch with some rainbow on the straps. And this is how it started. Mm-hmm. So I went from watch to watch. And then when I grew up, I started collecting watches. So before being a creator, I'm a collector. So I'm also part of the worldwide watch collector community.
Very cool. Very cool. What were you doing before you launched your first campaign and your first product that you brought to the world?
You mean what I was doing as a job or what I was doing for Kickstarter for that campaign?
As a job.
As a job. So before Kickstarter, I was construction project manager. So I was doing my last job was doing hotels. So I had projects in the United Kingdom and also in Europe. So I was like a senior construction project manager.
And at that time, what was kind of going through your mind to want to do your own watch? Because I mean, there's so many watch collectors. Like I love watches myself, dude. Like I have a bunch, right? What kind of pushed you into wanting to create your own?
So the story comes in 2 parts. The first part is I always wanted to be my own boss. So I always wanted to create my own company. And this was running in the background of my head. The second thing is, when I was obviously collecting watches, but when COVID hit, I started getting interested. Everyone had much more time than usual. So, lockdown and everything. So I started to get interested into, it has got a name. It's called micro brands. It's a niche in the watch industry where basically with the internet, with the, suppliers,
social
all over
media
can be connected with creators. So now a one-man band can create his own watch or her own watch. So this is how it started. So I was collecting and I was researching a particular watch, and I was this watch was out of stock, and I was watching reviews, and I got into that niche slowly. Then one day I kind of woke up and I found out that I had enough knowledge to start my own company creating watches, because obviously I have a background in design and engineering with the architecture and civil engineering. So this is how it happened. And, it clicked in my head, and I made my first sketch. If people are interested, you can find it on my Instagram, Radcliffe Watches. Mm-hmm. So this is basically how it started.
And from that realization of like, hey, I can do this myself, to coming out with the full product, how long was that? Was that like a year, 2 years? Was that a couple of months? Like how long was that duration?
I think it was 1 month.
Wow. Taking action, man. Love it.
Yes.
Super cool. Yeah, and you obviously have a background, when it comes to design. So, for those who are not familiar, before I get into some of my questions, when it comes to your campaign, what's different about your style of watch? Why is it unique? Why is it something that's standing out to people?
That's a very good question. Actually, the main thing nowadays on Kickstarter, I'm speaking about watches, mechanical watches. Everyone is trying to create a watch. And if you look at it from an outsider point of view, all the watches look the same or almost the same. It's a circular shape case with 3 hands, maybe a date complication. So this is something I was thinking about, and I was saying to myself, okay, I need to stand out. But how? That was the big question. And actually, the answer was creating complications that are usually sold for 50,000, 100,000 and more, and bring them to a very affordable price point and attainable for watch collectors that cannot. Many collectors dream about owning a certain brand that they cannot afford. So my idea was to bring that to them at a very, very competitive price point. That was the idea.
Love it. It's kind of like bringing luxury right down to the masses and allowing people to sample that for a fraction of the price, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So what kind of brought your attention to Kickstarter? Like, why did you go from maybe having this idea or working on the prototype? Why did you begin to involve Kickstarter? Tell me that story a tiny bit.
Yeah. So at the start, as I mentioned previously, I started getting interested in micro brands. So it's a niche, and this niche is tightly connected to Kickstarter. This is how many brands get to create basically their watches. So they are funded on Kickstarter, and this is how many interesting brands that exist today came to existence. They started with Kickstarter. So it was kind of it made sense to use Kickstarter. And also, using Kickstarter, you can test your product, see if it will get as much interest as you think. It also helps you raise funds when you don't have funds, and I'm guessing many people don't have enough money to start funding their product. So it kind of made sense back then, and it still makes sense today.
Got it. So you just started launching campaigns, it looks like. I mean, you had one campaign, it looks like it was successful, and then you did another one, and then you've launched your third one, right? So you've just been crushing it with a couple of different campaigns. What was going through your mind the night or a day before you were going live with this most recent campaign? What are kinds of thoughts you were having? What were kind of feelings you were having before you went live?
So a lot of stress, but not the bad kind of stress. Like, that motivation that is inside of you, like I don't know how to explain it. It's like a very good motivation, but stress that pushing you forward and pushing you ahead. So I was confident to a certain point, but you can never predict what will happen exactly. But I was really confident about that one.
And what made you so confident about it?
Good question again. So I mentioned previously that I'm part of the worldwide watch community, especially on the microbrand side of it. And I was sharing. So I was sharing the concept, and I was sharing different steps for the prototyping. I was sharing pictures of the prototypes. And I was also sharing my ideas with different watch enthusiasts. So I saw that concept was really popular also with non-watch people. And that was really interesting.
So you were seeing across the board people being interested, right? Which kind of made you feel more confident.
Yes.
Right. So you did also something super, what I would consider to be a little bit risky, but also exciting, which is you actually had a very short duration, right? When it came with the campaign.
Yes. Just 1 week.
Walk me through the decision behind that. Like, what kind of was guiding you behind that choice?
That might make you smile, actually. So what I did is that's my third Kickstarter campaign. So obviously the two previous ones were successful, but they didn't raise as much, and the product was nice but not as special. I was also learning from the other campaigns, see how people react, also have feedback, and trying to see the evolution of the brand, of the marketing, how to present the product and everything. So in short, why a week? I was analyzing my previous campaigns with Kicktraq. I guess you know Kicktraq, about Kicktraq.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome tool. Great shout out.
Awesome tool. So for those who don't know what Kicktraq is, Kicktraq allows you to analyze any campaign on Kickstarter, rather live or a past one, and it gives you how many pledges per day, how many days the campaign lasted for, the number of comments, lots of interesting information. So I was analyzing my previous campaigns, and I saw that after a certain time, you start losing backers. So for example, my campaign, the middle one, the Tsunami Diver one, that raised, I think it was £41,000. That one, we lost almost half of the backers. So, backers come and go. But when we were counting, we lost almost 50% of backers. So that was interesting. And I was going back to the data and trying to make sense of it. So when I saw that people were interested in that product, so my goal was to push the product and push the hype up in order to have as much backers as I can in a short amount of time. So 1 week. Also, one of the biggest watch channels in the world reviewed the watch, and I knew they were releasing on the 5th.
Really?
So I launched the campaign on the 4th, knowing that they will release their video on the 5th.
Interesting. How did you manage to swing that? Like, how did you get them to review it, or is that something you were going out and trying to get PR, or did they approach you? Like, what was the story behind that?
No. So I can name the channel if that's fine.
Yeah.
So the channel is called Watchfinder, and actually, the guy who's really a watch specialist and very smart. When I approached them, and I showed them the pictures of the prototype. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was not expecting it, but they replied, and they were keen to have a look at the watch, which is great. And then once the video was made, we were talking about sending the watch back, the prototype back. And then I said, maybe we can, you can maybe post the video 1 week before a show. And he said something really smart. And he said, you might want people to take action right away. And that's very smart, actually. And also, 1 week creates FOMO, so fear of missing out. So you don't want people to miss out, and they don't want to miss out as well. So 1 week was perfect. The setup was really perfect for that campaign.
Really cool. Yeah, I'm looking at the video. I mean, this got like 65,000 views. Yeah. And you got a bunch of people commenting on it. So it sounds like that technique of having someone review it and then having that be posted while you were live, that really panned out well for you.
Something really interesting to mention is that this is one of the rarest Kickstarter campaigns that raised more on the second day than on the first day.
That's definitely rare, for sure.
So I told you would smile.
Yeah, definitely. One of the other interesting pieces was that, you didn't spend any money on advertising, from what I understand. Is that correct?
I did it on purpose. I spent zero.
Wow.
On advertising.
So this is pretty much the result of organic marketing, you would say?
Yes. I wanted, so for two reasons. I wanted to try the market, and prove also to people that you can make it without any advertising.
And you definitely have, for sure. And you blew through your goal. I mean, you had a 10,000 goal. You blew through it. You got over 800 backers, over 300K, which you've raised. What did it feel like? I mean, compared to some of your other projects, this one has been a massive success. Why do you think it got so big so fast?
I think the brand name was already out there as well. So it's a combination. It's like the perfect combination of many elements. So the organic marketing, the name of the brand was already out there. So we were not a newbie anymore. We were an established brand. Of course, we're not a very big brand. We are a small brand, but the name Radcliffe is more or less known in the watch industry now. And also, I think what helped a lot is the design. So the design, as I was mentioning, was bringing complications. We call these complications that usually exists in big brands, like and niche as well. So to bring them to everyone. And that was really, I think, what made the watch really successful.
If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured, I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist, and it's free, you can go to fulfillrite.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist, fulfillrite.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately. And thinking, back to the time when you would look up to all of these other watches and you were a collector, and now you have your own brand, which is gaining steam and has raised a bunch of money on Kickstarter. What does that mean to you as a creator, as a designer?
It means a lot, honestly. I'm smiling right now because I'm really happy today. And I think everyone that listens to the podcast that was supportive, even with words. So I'm really happy I'm here today because, I started from scratch. I don't have a real background in watchmaking or horology, but that's a personal, let's call it a personal achievement.
And you think about it, there are so many creators that are listening to this show who are just like you, right? Who have never made a product before. So it sounds like one bit of advice you have is focus on design. Two is to maybe consider media placement or trying to get into an influencer's channel. Do you have any other advice that you would give beginning creators when it comes to launching a campaign?
Yeah, so I would say two things. The first thing is believe in yourself. And you hear it a lot, but it's very powerful, actually. When you believe in yourself, even though people don't believe in you, you will make it one way or the other. So believe in yourself, believe in yourself, believe in yourself. The second thing is when try to understand your strengths and your weaknesses and try to use your weaknesses as strengths. I can give you an example if we have enough time.
Yeah, definitely.
So, for example, let's take my brand as an example. So, Radcliffe, okay, we do cool designs. I have background in design and everything, but we are small. Sometimes we don't have budget for advertising. So, one of the weaknesses is that we are small, but turning that into strength. For example, I think not many creators do this. I was putting my phone number. This is my personal phone number on Kickstarter. If you go on Kickstarter, you'll find my phone number. I did it on purpose. I put my pictures so to tell people this is me. This is who I am. This is my background, and I'm a collector like you. And you can reach out to me and we can have a chat. We can discuss about watches. We can discuss about the product, whatever, or just have an informal chat. And I think this helps a lot. So try to, even if you're a big company. So I think personal marketing is outdated. Now people want to speak to people. We don't want to watch, adverts that are made by big companies, obviously by big companies and everything. So now I think things are shifting, and this is important to have this human contact as a creator.
So making sure you have a positive relationship, right, when it comes to those backers and the people that are supporting it. How do you kind of, for someone who's like skeptical, right, and he's like, oh, this is just a first time creator or watch creator, how do you create that confidence, right, that you can deliver on the product, that you can actually do what you say you're going to do? How do you build that relationship?
When you start, you might not be 100% confident, and such is life, that's how things work. So you need to try a few things. You need to work on yourself. For example, if you don't know how to speak in public, or you don't know how to speak to people, you need to work on that. So when I was saying you can turn a few weaknesses into strengths, it could be also done the other way around. If you have weaknesses that you can work on and that are obvious handicaps for your progress, even your personal progress, not just as a creator, you need to work on that, because Kickstarter is a community, and usually they make niche products. But beyond Kickstarter, you need to be as friendly as possible, create connections. And this is also the life of an entrepreneur. You need to know how to create connections. You need to know how to speak, how to summarize ideas, and exchange with the environment around you.
Yeah, definitely. And that communication is just so incredibly important. And I think it's something we can all, continue to improve with and get better. And also so many different cultures as well, right, on the platform. Well, really, really cool tips. So I guess one question that I'd have for you is, in seeing this success, and now you're going into like the fulfillment phase, what's your end goal here? Is it to become the next biggest watch brand? Is it to come out with more campaigns? Like, what's your goal when it comes to this brand?
My goal is to, when you start small, you might have a few brands in mind that you want to, you have them as models. My goal is to exceed them.
So kind of like coming up with new product lines is what you're saying.
Yes. Oh, and also when we talk about watches, it's not just the product itself, it's the culture around the product. If you take a brand like Rolex, it's not just the product, it's the culture, it's a whole community worldwide. So and also watches connect people, and this is why I love watches as well, because I made connections all around the world. If I go to any major city, there will be always someone waiting for me at the airport, and this is amazing. So again, it's about people and community. And
very cool. One other final question I have for you here, just some of the points you were talking about before, is you mentioned this idea of simplifying information and how it's so important to do that with your product. Do you think you could just expand on that a tiny bit?
Yeah, of course. So this is a personal this is my view on it after some experience, after reading about marketing, and also my former professional experience. We are bombarded with information every day, right? So whether you go on Instagram, or you read articles, or you receive emails for your job. So at the end of the day, when you go on Kickstarter, you want to buy a product. You don't want to be bombarded with information that you don't want to. What you want to, the human brain like pictures, simplify information. So also I put as much information as I could on Kickstarter, and I realized people were messaging me a lot looking for some information, and that information was on Kickstarter. What this means is that my campaign could be improved, and I could summarize more and show more pictures and find a better way to share the information without people getting bored after 2-3 lines or 2-3 sections of the campaign.
Well said. Well said. Where can people go to find out more about your Kickstarter? Where can they go to find out more about some of your products here?
So they just need to go on Google, type in Radcliffe Watches, or go to radcliffewatches.com and reach out to me, and I'll be happy to chat to them and share some tips and also discuss watches.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that. My final question, we can end on this note, is we can either end with a quote that you like. We could end with a final tip that you have for beginning crowdfunders or creators, or something, just a word of encouragement for other people out there that are making products.
So I would say two things. Step by step. Start with baby steps, and sky is not the limit. Believe in yourself.
Well said. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. And good luck in the fulfillment phase. Looking forward to seeing your project and new ones to come.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for joining me here on this show. And hopefully it was a well worth, investment of your time when it comes to this particular podcast. You took away tons of tactics, resources, tools, strategy when it comes to launching a crowdfunding campaign. And if you do feel like that was true, it would mean so much to me. I would be very appreciative if you take a second to leave a positive rating and review on iTunes. That way, that feedback, other people know that this is a good investment of their time, and it really helps my mission, which is to demystify the world of crowdfunding. I believe that everyone should have access to this tool. This should be democratized so that everyone knows not only how to do it, but also some of the different tools and resources that can help you along the path when it comes to raising money from the crowd. So if you do believe in that vision the way that I do, please leave a positive rating and review on iTunes when it comes to this podcast. In addition, one of the ways in which I try to help people along the path to not only be successful, but to really smash through their goals. Everything that goes into a campaign launch can be quite daunting. It can be extremely overwhelming. And there's kind of this sense of like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I can do. I don't know how to focus. And also it can be a little bit intimidating and scary. And one of the ways that I decided to make myself available early on was to do individual one-on-one coaching calls with students that are freaking committed. If that sounds like you, if you are committed when it comes to launching a campaign and doing it right, whether you're in the idea stage, in the prototype stage, in the marketing stage of really putting together an entire campaign launch, or you're going live in a week, this can be an extremely valuable time and opportunity for you to have a powerful campaign launch. And one of the best ways you can do that is to invest a little bit of your time, energy, and attention into an individual one-on-one coaching call with me. So if you're enjoying my podcast, you enjoy my YouTube videos, you enjoy the other information I put out there, go and book a one-on-one individual coaching call with me at the link I'm about to mention at crowdcrux.com/coaching. That link is crowdcrux.com/coaching. That link is crowdcrux.com/coaching. Go to that link, tell me a little bit of information about you, what you're trying to achieve, more about your project, and we can get that call scheduled ASAP. Thank you so much, man, for tuning into this episode of the show. We're going to have a great podcast episode as well next week, so stay tuned for that. But I hope that you're taking some action towards your goals wherever in the world that you are. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some more crowdfunding knowledge, strategy, and a gold mine of information for you, which will be coming up next week in our next episode.